Welcome to Farming Smarter and another plot shot. I'm Mike Gretzinger, the research coordinator, and here I'm going to show you our brand new seeder. We've got our old tech, an oldie but a goodie, parked right next to our brand new Wintersteiger Flex. This seeder was all built this winter by Wintersteiger as part of a custom design, and it was funded as part of the $32 million WGRF capacity initiative. So we were fortunate enough to be funded by them to build a brand new seeder, and we've got a combine coming in the fall. So you can see right off the bat a couple obvious differences, but a lot of similarities. And so our old seeder on the right here, the red seeder, it's got a lot of mechanical systems. It's ground drive. The toolbars lift up off the ground completely from a couple hydraulic rams, and compared to the new seeder here, we've got a lot more better system, but the bones are still the same. We actually copied our old seeder so that we could use some different components and kind of make them match and fit with our research system, but we've got all the new technology on here. So I'm going to take you for a 30-second tour of our old one and then show you all the cool new bells and whistles that we have. You can see on our old seeder here, the whole toolbar comes up with these big rams on the side. We've got mechanical zero maxes, so these are miniature transmissions on every single box. So we'll put our small seed out the front, our big seed, and we've got separate boxes for metering fertilizer, so we don't always have to come up with a blend ahead of time because we're changing up so much. And these mechanical transmissions are calibrated, and we can finally dial them in to get all of our different seeding rates and things like that. And up top here, we've got two separate cones. So we've got one set up with our seed, and we usually one set up for our fertilizer. But depending on what we're doing, we can adjust all that individually. And then down here, we've got 4 bolts that can be pulled out. So there's my bolt. 1, 2, and then 2 more on the other side. And so this toolbar is built individually. We can completely pull this out. That's how we put on our stealth paired row hoe openers. Right now we've got the pillar lasers on here. We've done a lot of upgrades over the last couple of years on this seeder, but it's starting to show its age. We've had some big cracks in some of the frame and other pieces. You know, it's been our workhorse for 5,000 plots for over 10 years now. So we're going to take it easy on this, kind of do a lot more of our legacy projects and some of the opener type stuff. But you can still see we've managed to add some seed sensors here, and we've got the air brakes, which really help on the smaller seeded crops, so our seeds don't pop up out of the rows. So that's our old system, and this is the new school here. I'm going to take you around to the front side here and show you just kind of the biggest differences. So the main and first thing you're going to notice is this is all electric over hydraulic now. So we've got a PTO pump. Pretty easy to hook up on the tractor here. We're still using an air type system, but the PTO, this is going to run this whole electronic box here. So this controls our cone system, and it controls our metering boxes. It all recirculates back through this hydraulic pump, and that goes down to our openers. So that's one of the biggest differences we're going to have in terms of seeding plots, is that the whole seeder doesn't have to pop up and down out of the ground now. We've got hydraulic rams for each of our openers. So let's take a close look at these openers. These are a Borgo opener. They're a little bit different than what we're used to. They're the main difference here, because our seeder doesn't come up and down out of the ground completely, is now we have to set a down pressure. So depending on the seeding conditions, we're going to change that down pressure. If we were to seed today versus next week, after all that moisture we hopefully get this weekend, we're going to have to adjust the down pressure. And then on top of that, once we kind of know where our down pressure is going to be, then we're going to use these here and adjust our depth. So there's a little bit of a kind of balance here between getting the scraper wheel and the packing wheel and all of our depth set right. So this is where a lot of the magic is going to happen, and we got some really cool new features up top here. So we've got we've got the capability, we haven't hooked it up yet, but we have the capability to have our GPS in the tractor, which runs RTK, hooked up to our cones here so that we can have an automatic trip. So up here, these boxes are set up just like our other seeder. We've got a couple new features. We've got level sensors to make sure we never run out of something while we're seeding big plots. We've got outside rows separated on each side so that if we're going to do winter wheat on the outside of our spring wheat or something like that, or any other kind of combinations we might want to do. And then all this, instead of having those zero maxes now, this is where we have that electric over hydraulic. So we've got a totally different calibration set up. We've got a new touch pad in the cab there that we kind of go through and check things out. And so this is all electronically driven. And so if we want to make fine adjustments on the fly, we can just punch those numbers in and get that info right away. These are all Morris seed cups from like some of the actually rather old type openers, but they work really well for our research designs here. We can open and close our slides to let seed out. We can set it to these fine teeth for doing small seeds, or big tooth for larger seeds. And then there's a meter on the side here if we need to adjust a little more finely whether things get in or out. And then over on our cones, these are brand new cones. We've never used a Wintersteiger cone before. And also a big thanks to Corey from Wintersteiger for coming out and giving us a big demo of how everything works and helping us get it calibrated and set up. These cones here are matching cones, and we have them set up both through the seed run right now, but we're going to split them the same way so we can do fertilizer out of one and seed from another. They're set up, so hopefully at some point we'll get it set up on the automatic trip. Right now we've got a big electric lift, so you just hit this button. They'll both pop open at the same time. We've got emergency stop or override in case anything happens. We've got bin level, so this is our bin level for the box 1, 2, 3 I was telling about. And there's also a lot of fine tuning we can do on these cones now. So one of the challenges on a cone system is if your seed isn't quite level. You can see we got a level on here. You're not going to get very even distribution. We've also got nice wind blockage on here, especially important if you're seeding some small grains, canola or something like that on a windy day. Blows it around quite a bit. Underneath here, you can see down underneath the cone, there's an electric drive here that matches both up and syncs them up at the exact same speed. And then underneath, we can actually take this entire spinner apart and we can adjust the pieces that go inside, and that'll give us better control and more even distribution if we're running canola versus wheat versus peas versus beans or something like that. And as well, these funnels come out and they can be adjusted for different sizes as well. And if all else fails, which electronics occasionally do, we've got a manual override just in case. So this here is our Alpine liquid kit. We have one mounted on the other seeder and we've just upgraded them to have the new dual system. So these will float here and you can get better eye on whether or not things are metering through the system properly. There's a couple different orifices you can put in the back end here, and then we just adjust it for our ground speed and set our PSI based on how much we want to put in our little tank. So I mean, it's a pretty tiny tank compared to what most guys are used to, I'm sure. This is our PTO set up here, and this is all we have for electronics, just a couple wires coming in. The rest is electronic over hydraulics, so this just runs into here and hooks on to our electronics module there. So this is a close-up of our cone system here. We put the seed in through the top, the belt spins around and comes out the hole. Then there's an electronic motor right here, and there's a spinner inside, so that spins it, and there's a couple different size seed cups that can go in there. And what they'll do is they'll meter it out evenly out of each of these rows. So we've got 6 rows, or six openers here, and that goes down to each of our 6 rows on the ground. All right, so thanks again to WGRF for funding this new research seeder, and thanks a lot to Wintersteiger and Corey at Wintersteiger for putting this together, designing it, and coming out here and showing us how it works. We did a lot of testing last week. We were placing fertilizer, we were getting our cone distances set, we were checking the calibrations on all of our boxes, and just making sure that it's going to run like a top. This drill is going to take so much stress and pressure off our seeding operations in the springtime. Until now, this thing has basically gone 24/7. You know, any sort of breakdown, any kind of hiccup that we have really puts a lot of stress and anxiety on the team here. So I think this is going to take a lot of stress and a lot of pressure off us. It's going to allow us to do a really good job on our plots. I'm really excited to see kind of the new seed openers and how those work. And it's going to give us a lot of flexibility in what we can do and how we manage some of the different trials. So by no means are we going to get rid of that, but I think we're really everybody's looking forward to getting to know this new drill and to kind of see it in action in the field. So we'll see you in a couple weeks.